Hey, what is going on? What is going on? This is Mike Clark with the Keys and Knowledge, powered by the War Team, man. You already know it. You see me, I'm at home chilling. Um, but I have to come out with this content because I owed it to you guys for one. And two, I also wanted to let you guys know I wasn't able to stay the entire time like I normally do. I normally stay from the time that it starts around, I believe, 10, and it kind of ends around 11, 12. But that's when it dies down. The game begins at 11. I would say that, to be honest. So for most of you guys that don't know, the foreclosure auction is the first Tuesday of every month at 10 o'clock, right? At 10 o'clock. What I do is I get with the one of the trustees. They actually produce a list that helps out when it comes to your research and understanding everything and kind of consolidating all the different homes from um, of course, the El Paso. It's public records, right? Um, Consolidates it all on a spreadsheet, puts the information down from the address, the legal description, as well as any potential liens that may be on it. However, once again, disclaimer, you definitely want to do your own title search. So when I get this document from the trustee, of course, I'm vetting it with a fine tooth comb. And then if there's a property that I would want to bid on, or I have a client that may want to bid on, that's when it would have to go to a subject matter expert like a title company, right? So the title company will go through all the documents, all the legal documents, and verify who has true ownership of that particular property. Understand, when you're bidding on these properties, what are you bidding on? You're bidding on the deed of trust. So you got to understand what you're bidding on in the moment. That's what you're bidding for. That's what you're trying to get, the ownership of that deed. Now, liens may cloud that particular deed, that title. So you definitely want to understand that. All right. Once again, my name is Mike Clark. I'm an El Paso realtor out here. And I just try to stay as involved as possible with one, with the community, but two, also with investors, potential investors, but then also people who are understanding and going through foreclosures and giving them options and talking to them about what they can and can't do. For the most part, of course, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a tax person, I'm not none of that. I'd like to advise individuals, or at least expose. I don't even want to say expose. I don't think expose is the best word for it, but I just kind of want to bring this information to the light, so people understand what they are. It has a stigma around it, of course, because these are homeowners. For the most part, there are commercial properties as well on this list, but for the most part, these are homeowners. These are primary um, properties, people's primary residence that are being foreclosed on, which mean they are losing the home. They are being sold, for that balance that is owed overall. So you know, this is what I like to do. I like to push this information out. I've also practiced this information and learning and producing in real time. I actually own, I think like 7 or 8 lots, and these were from the tax sale out in South Bend, Indiana, for my grandmother. She was potentially going to lose her lots, um, you know, while she was sick in the moment. But my brother and I, we went ahead and purchased those through the tax sale. So, I've done that. I've done foreclosures as well. But, you know, learning and understanding how each city, state, county does it, that's something you have to learn, because it changes. The rules change, the laws change. Um, you know, the overall, everything changes, man. It can be a difficult process to try to understand. I promise you that. But anyway, like I said, this particular foreclosure auction out here in El Paso County, first Tuesday every month, 10 o'clock. It's at the El Paso Coliseum, right across the street from the zoo. um, so if the foreclosure auction is something that you want to learn more about, you want to understand a little bit better, or you just want to see how it's ran, or just be a spectator, definitely just show up. There's no charge to be there in the room. I would say it is a tight location, so definitely bring a chair, bring a table, and have plenty of time. It is loud, it is a little hot, and I would say, what I noticed as well as things changed month to month. In this particular month, for this last Tuesday, this previous Tuesday, something was different with this particular auction, right? Normally, we're all pushed in one side of the wing in this Coliseum, right? And all the trustees at one time, they could either be presenting their particular property that they are representing, and they're just starting the auction. Their particular auction in their corner, right? So, for example, you have auction.com and on the right side of the room, and then you have El Paso County or one of the main trustees for El Paso, Texas, on the left side of the room, and they can either play fair and let one start the bidding process, and once that ends, they'll go over here and they'll alternate all those good things. But you know, it's never consistent, man. Sometimes they're talking over each other. Sometimes their bidding process is together. Sometimes you have other trustees that are coming in, and now they're in the back of the room, and they're also bidding as the rest of these trustees are going. So it can get crazy from time to time. I promise you that, but you have to be patient. You have to understand what is going on and know what you're trying to bid on. And I'm sorry, at this point, you have to have some sort of you got to be assertive in the moment, man, especially if you're trying to bid and understand what's happening, because at this point, there's no being nice in that room. I've seen people try to be nice and be polite and try to speak low, and no, no. So I haven't yet to bid on a particular property. I've yet to have a client that is ready to bid, because it's a lot that's going on in a moment, man. It's a lot that's going on, but I promise you, when it's time to bid, I will be as aggressive as I need to be, right? As aggressive as I need to be to make sure that I'm securing whatever I'm bidding on. Now, for this particular month as well, one thing that I noticed is, like I said, we're normally in one wing, and no matter who's bidding at the moment, who's going, what trustees going in that moment, everybody else stays in that room. But for some reason, I seen the sheriff. I don't know if she was the actual sheriff or who she was, but they actually took another portion. I don't know if she was a trustee or sheriff. Like I said, I seen her badge, so I'm assuming she was a sheriff. She went into the back, into the actual Coliseum, and she was giving out bidding cards that way, which is now separating you from this bidding. So it's like, man, you have to be like, once again, be aggressive, find out who is bidding on what properties are being represented by which trustee or which sheriff, because like I said, it's super chaotic. And one thing I plan on doing at some point in time is figuring out who is supposed to oversee this, man, because I just don't think it's doing anybody any justice if the goal is to make sure that we're being, homeowners are being protected. Homeowners have a chance, if they really want to, bid on their home and try to get it back for whatever reason, or you know, um, say someone else wanted that home, and they need to know what how to go about it, man. They shouldn't have to find out, oh well, the property I was spending 2-3 hours to bid on is on the left side of the room, and I can't hear anything, and I didn't even hear them start. So once again, like I said, it's chaotic. I don't want to go all over the place, but the moral of the story is, if you are wanting to get into foreclosures, I would recommend you sit for a couple of months, and like I said, it's only once a month anyway. So maybe go to 2 or 3, and then from there you'll understand the concept, you'll understand how everything goes. Now, what I want to present to you guys, like I said, I didn't sit there for the entire foreclosure. I had other things going on. I actually went to the city council that day. I had a training that day as well, but I wanted to go over a couple of the properties that were represented, that was presented at this particular auction, right? So I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. And once again, this is a document that I get from the trustee that I can vet and go through and verify. Of course, I have access to the MLS. Um, I have access to a couple different platforms that help me have a little bit more of an advance, uh, have a little bit more leverage than, not even leverage. I would say it just I have tools and resources that are a little bit advanced versus the average person coming into this. particular game, right? So it helps me out a lot. But anyway, I'm gonna show you guys. But in this instance, I'm gonna show you just as if anybody else would do it. So they're using Zillow, they're going through the list, etc., right? So let me stop rambling, man. I'm all over the place. So I want to show you guys what I'm talking about. And let's see. So we're gonna go to share screen, and we're gonna share this. Okay. Put this over here so you guys can see. Okay, so this is a list that I have that I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but I'm gonna show you, for example, I'm gonna go through like maybe 3 properties and then, I'm gonna try to keep the video short. But this is what I do. I like, once again, I request this document and the information that I receive through this document that kind of helps me understand a little bit more about the property. I care about the address and legal description, of course. Understand that technically you're really bidding on the land. It just happened to have a man-made object on it. However, that's really what it is, man. To be honest, if you really think about it. So for this particular one, let's look at this address. And this is public records, of course. This is all public records, so you can find this. This is not something that's in secret or nothing, like no one knows about it. But this property is 1641 Henry Dunant Drive, El Paso, Texas 79936. So this is out in Horizon area. Yeah, on the east side, right? On the east side. It shows you the grantee, who actually financed this, and the grantor, the person that received the loan, right? It tells you that information. It also tells you the trustee. It tells you the taxes due, which, of course, that gives you a, understanding. Now, when it says the taxes due, that could be with or without an exemption. So that could fluctuate. You want to verify this with the Central Appraisal District just to verify. And it does say it here too, right? It's right next to it. It says taxes due and then taxes without exemptions. But like I said, once again, I verify this information every single time. And that's easy. Once again, public record, you can check anybody's property taxes. You can check your neighbor's property taxes if you like. The next header is subject DT amount. So DT means deed of trust amount. So for that deed of trust, you're looking at 115,862. That's the document that you want. That's the ownership of the home, right? And then right next to it, it gives you the CAD value, which once again, you'll see that in the Central Appraisal District. One thing that I've noticed with Central Appraisal District, they are looking at market value. This is what's crazy. I think some cities do it different. I know at least in my city, a property, say for example, property's worth 100,000. Our Central Appraisal District or whoever appraises our homes, they're not appraising it at, they're not for the city records. They're not appraising it at 100. They're a little bit below, man, a little bit below. So maybe 80, 75, to give relief to the homeowners, right? It's ridiculous what the city does, man. They max it out all the way. But anyway, the Central Appraisal District value is saying it's 193,820. So 193,000. It shows you the lot size, so the square footage, 6,500. It also shows you the living area. This is very important to verify as well on the Central Appraisal District, right? This right here could change everything. Even when you're looking at your own property taxes, you're getting taxed on the livable square footage, So your home could be 2,000 square feet, but maybe you got a carport, maybe it's the garage. It's not a livable space. You're getting taxed on the livable space, right? From there, you're talking about garage square footage, which that's in there. Look, that's right there, right next to it. If it has a pool, I've never noticed anything put into this particular header, and I've never seen anything put there. It also has a year built, 1983. Instrument number. This helps when you're looking through those. When you're looking through the public records, you're looking through documents, and you're trying to follow, how the history of the deed and everything. So that information is there as well. Now, this part here, once again, this is not something you want to take as truth and fact. You want to verify. This just gives you an idea, and this tells you if you really want to bid on it, you need to get this over to a title company just so they can verify this. But what is being seen easily through the public records is that there's 3 liens, right? Of course, you have the first lien, which is the mortgage company, and then you have a second and third lien. These could be mechanic liens. This could be liens from the city, for weeds, trash, etc. You don't know what these liens are for, so you definitely want to figure that piece out and understand it. But here, we got to understand. So you're like, Mike, okay, I see this. I still don't understand it. What am I technically doing? Well, you want to buy low and sell high, right? You want to make sure and you want to find out how much equity is in a property. How much equity is in a property. So when you're looking at this address, right, and you're looking at the CAD value, and like I said, even the CAD value, you still want to, I would say, give it a realtor. I would say give it somebody who knows and understands comps, and they can give you some serious comps and let you know, okay, this home could be sold at this price, market wise. But anyway, so what you're doing is you're trying to see how much is the home valued for and how much is owed. And as long as how much is valued for is more, that's that equity piece. You want that to be as high as possible. Because remember, when you're going through this, you don't know if there's any damage to the house, if it needs anything. You don't know if there's people living in it. Like there could be a ton of different things. But that's the other thing about this, as dealing with foreclosures, man. It could be a bunch of different variables. See, that's why it's a high risk. I would say high reward if you do it right. So definitely do your homework. Do your homework. Do your homework. But we're gonna look at this property right now, right? So, like I said, Central Appraisal District value is 193. It's saying the home is worth 193. The deed of trust, just say if it had no liens at all, which it has no liens, is saying that to purchase this, the deed of trust, it's $115,000, right? So let's go ahead and pull up the calculator. My daughter's down there crying. I don't know if y'all can hear her or not. Hopefully not. But let me show you guys. This property, let me see, we said 115,862, and that's 193,820. Now it has no liens, right? It has no liens at all. You're looking at 77, almost $80,000 in equity between how much is owed and how much this thing is valued for. So I'm telling you, it's huge. That's huge. But now, like I said, you have to verify this. So, like I said, most people, you won't have access to the MLS unless you're a realtor, of course. But of course, you can still. I would say you can still use Zillow, man. I'm just being real with you. I'm gonna be real with you. So let's go ahead. I usually just copy and paste, right? Let's copy this. Just got to do Control C, Command C. Then we're gonna go here. I'm gonna show you guys what I'm doing. So let me share this tab. So all I did was copy and paste the address, and I'm looking at, let's see what Zillow says. Zillow says the home is about 153, which is a lot less than the 193. This is why I say you got to verify, right? You got to verify. So it's saying it's 153, which I don't think is worth it at that point. I mean, it brings it down a lot more. I mean, it still got some equity, but now what you can do is look at some of these pictures, and that'll tell you a little bit more. I mean, it is an older home. You can see that, just from these photos, you got to see it in person. Drive by it. I would say drive by it if you can. But if you were just taking, you know, your comps and looking at the home and saying what kind of condition it is, just from the photos, you can say, man, that roof might need to be done or replaced, depending on what it is. Of course, it has an evaporator cooler. Most rentals need a central air. Especially if you want to bump the rents up at any point. Of course, you're looking at the inside. It's definitely outdated. You're looking at stuff over here. Looks like there's been some leaks going on. So that's really what you're doing. And then you at that point you're trying to get the numbers right, where you're trying to understand, okay, I purchased this home, and like I said, let's say for just giggles that the numbers were right. Let's just say it was 193. That's how much the house was worth. 115 was for the deed, and your equity on this was 77,000, almost 78,000. Now, what you would have to do is figure out, okay, out of that 78,000, how much is needed to get this home up to par? I would say if it needed a new evaporator cooler, a new central air, that's like what I would say 10 to 15. Let's just say 10,000 for easy numbers. Now we're down to what 68. Say we want to remodel the inside, just get it up. We're gonna spend another 20. Okay, we're all in for 30. Okay, let's just say we need to put 30,000 in. So 78,000 minus 30. Well, that's 48,000. So that's still 48,000 in equity if you can sell this house at market value. So, you know, it's there, man. It's there. Now you may say, Mike, how am I gonna get the money for this? Well, there's options. Of course, there's options. I'm if you want to know more about it, just let me know. We can have a private phone call. We could talk about it. I don't want to give too much over here because I don't want people just going and say, "Hey, Mike, the realtor told me this." No, no. Listen, this is for education purposes, man. It's just for you to understand a little bit. But if you want to know, like I said, you want to have a game plan or better understanding of it, definitely schedule an appointment. Let's talk. Let's figure this out. And if you're okay with the risk, then I'm okay with talking to you. If you're not okay with the risk, it's not something I'm gonna be comfortable talking to you about, and you may need to talk to someone else if you're still trying to go through it. I don't want you upset with me, right? I don't want you upset with me at all. All right, so now let's look at the next property. All right, so now we kind of get an understanding. Now there is a note on this. So we're going back here. There is a note on this, right? It said January 6, 2026 foreclosure sale. So this will be going up for auction next month. Another thing I want to tell you guys, if you do get a list, understand this particular list, some of these homes, one, either don't go up for auction for whatever reason, or two, no one bidded on it or whatever, but you'll end up seeing for 2-3 months at a time, the some of the old properties on the old list are still coming up for auction. It's weird, man. So for example, you know, uh, November, right? This is from October to November, right? So you're talking about from September to October. That list, you might want to still keep that list because some properties will still present itself at a newer auction. So definitely make sure you understand that. Keep that in mind. That's happened so many times. Let's talk about this one right here. All right, because people still don't believe there's liens. There's HOAs out here. Understand this property right here, 738 Willow Glen Drive, El Paso, Texas. This is gonna be the last one we're gonna go over because I don't want to go too long. It's already at 23 minutes. But let's just pull this one up. But let's talk about it a little bit, right? 738 Willow Glen Drive, El Paso, Texas. Taxes due on this property, which is a pretty big property, obviously, right? 16,589. That's the yearly taxes on it. It also says that without exemptions. Once again, if you want to verify this, go to Central Appraisal District. And you can verify that information. It shows the deed of trust amount just to get the deed of trust. They've been paying on it, but what's owed and what's left is 436. Once again, you have to verify this information. How? Through a title company. Through a title company to verify what's owed, what's left. You know, title companies do their best, but even then, it's still risky, man. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. So make sure you definitely understand and do your homework. Now, the Central Appraisal District is valuing this property at 627,509. So you may say, Mike, why would somebody spend 436? Well, look at that equity split. Look at that equity. 436 is what was technically is old. You know, once you verify it, and the value overall is 627. That's almost 200 grand. It's almost 200 grand mean, like I said, I don't know how other counties are. I don't know what that split is, but there's a lot of equity in there, man. A lot of equity to play with. And like I said, you just need to do your numbers where it makes sense. Is there any damage to the property? Is there anything legally I got to deal with it? You know, um, that's the thing you have to do. You have to do your homework to figure out, okay, how much out of that equity, because you still got to put this on market. You still got to sell it. You still got to find a buyer, right? But you know, if if you can hold on to it and purchase it for 436 and it is worth 627 and you put on the market and you've done your you've done your comparables and you verified it and it makes sense, you may, because I think this may be a commercial, so you might have to do a broker's opinion, and that broker comes back and says, hey, that is worth six something. You just made 200 G's if you could sell it. Now, why is this thing up for auction? I'm telling you, look, the additional liens. What does it say here? HOA lien. This equity split could be forced for $1,000, bro. $1,000. HOA want their money, bro. They not playing with you. They are not playing. They are not playing. I've seen it. I've showed you guys content where two condos went up for auction. Two condos went up for auction for a couple $1,000, and it's believed that those condos were paid off. That's crazy, man. Crazy to lose a paid for condo over a couple grand. Remember too, you might say, hey Mike, how does that happen? Some people just they leave, man. They have multiple properties. They don't keep up with their affairs, man. It's just things happen. Yeah, I mean, I can't even no one can explain it, but you just gotta always stay up on your affairs, man. But anyway, let's look at this property. Because like I said, I don't want to be on it too long. So this one says 738 Willow Glen. So all I'm going to do is copy and paste. Like I said, I got to do Command C. I'm going to go to Zillow. Once again, if I was working with you, I'm going to the MLS. I'm doing a little bit more research. But this could suffice as well. You just got to figure it out. So I'm going here, right? Now, Zillow is saying this is 627. You guys see it? It's saying it's 627,509. And how far off is that from the list? How far off? That's exact. That's what CAD says. CAD matches with Zillow. But to verify this, once again, even if you don't have access to the MLS, you can still maybe pay and charge a fee to a realtor and let them do your comps. Let them do your CMA, comparable market analysis. Let them do it. And then that'll verify that, hey, it has something for you. So now we're looking through the photos once again. Once again, like I said, if you're doing your homework, of course, you're gonna be like, Mike, how can I verify the inside? Technically, you can't, man, because it's being foreclosed on. You don't want to knock on the door. You don't want nothing happening. You may just only be able to drive. I do know people. I'm not even gonna say it. You get it. Do what you got. Do what you can do. But at a bare minimum, drive by and make sure that house still there. Make sure there wasn't no fire, no one tore it up, there's no damage. I mean, I've seen one foreclosure out here in El Paso, stuff all over the lawn. You can look through the window and see they tore the whole house up. I was told one time somebody bid it on something, and the night prior the house went on fire, but they bid on something, and now this is what they're getting. So verify that it's still standing, right? But these are the photos. It's a pretty nice house, man. A really nice house. A really nice house in a beautiful neighborhood. It's a 4 bath, 2.5. I mean, 4 bed, 2.5 bath. It looks clean. I mean, it could be updated a little bit, but I mean, it's moving ready, right? If this is what it still looks like, this is super. This is clean, man. This is clean. You may need to do a little bit of work to it. Like I said, keep it updated. Maybe do some tile work, do some lawn work, fresh coat of paint, do some new trim. You know, I mean, it is a big house though. It's 3,300 square feet. So, I mean, yeah. But you see it. This is just what you have to do. Do your as much research. You can't do enough, man. You can't do enough when you're playing with that much equity. But Now let's do the numbers. I just gotta do the numbers for you. Let's do the numbers. So it's saying the home's worth 627, 509 minus what is owed for the deed, right? 436. That's left over the equity, $191,000, right? $191,000. And if it's only one lien on it, this $1,000 lien, who cares? Pay that, take it, But once again, this right here may be something I would really look at. Of course, it's a lot of money. You'd have to come up with some different ways and figure that piece out when it comes to the financing piece. Get creative, right? But it's worth it if you can get creative because of that equity. If this deal can go through, boom, you're good. So understand, man, if you're a realtor, I mean not a realtor, but if you're an investor, you need to talk to me, man. You want to know what's going on out here in El Paso. If you're a local investor, I hope you're a local. If you're local, hey, get in the game, man. Get in the game. If you're a doctor, lawyer, someone who has, super cash heavy, this may be where you want to park your money at. This may be able to help you with more wealth. Another option when it comes to, where you're getting your money from. It's just another option, man. So, like I said, I don't want to go too deep. I just want to show you two properties. I wasn't there for, to see what the results are. Because remember, you're still bidding. So, I mean, yeah, the property was 436, but if someone else is there to bid, they could move it up to 500,000. They could move it up to 600 grand, right? You guys are bidding back and forth. But what I've noticed, the trend that I've noticed going for almost a couple years now, I will tell you, if it's over 100, 180, not that many people bidding, bro. You may be bidding against one or two people at the most. Now, if it's 180 or below, you could be bidding with 4 or 5 people. You know, so it just really depends. But if you could be the only bidder, that's what that's looking like. So I would just tell you that. Once again, though, man, that's what's going on. So let's go ahead and get off of this, and I'm just gonna go ahead and close this out. And I want to go ahead and put myself right here. So once again, man, I appreciate the time. I appreciate the love. You guys are seeing the content getting pushed out. I want to try to stay as consistent as I can because I am getting very, very busy as a realtor. You guys already know, man, I'm over here, I'm over there. I'm doing open houses. I'm trying to build my client list. So if you know anyone in the market to buy or sell, anyone who wants to learn about investing, not only just foreclosures, but just trying to find an investment property, multifamily property, live in, flip, a bird process, you know, I mean, I know a little bit about a lot. If I don't know a particular investment or about a particular investment, I have no problem saying I don't know. I have no idea. However, and unlike most, I have no problem researching. I have no problem doing the work. You got to understand, I'm hungry. I got to eat like everybody else. So I'm eager to learn as much as I can. I'm eager to learn to put in the work. And that's what I want you guys to see from me. I want to show you guys that I'm confident. I understand what's going on. I understand this game, right? And moving forward, I want to be that subject matter expert. So again, if you know anybody that's in the market for buying or selling, first time home buyer, of course, you're looking for some sort of down payment assistance, closing costs, let me know. Let's see if we can find you a resource. Let's see if we can find a way for you to get into your first home. So that's what it is. So what do I have upcoming right now? What do I have upcoming? Of course, I have an open house coming up this weekend. I'm trying to do open houses weekly at this point. What else am I doing? Of course, first of the month, I'm always going to the foreclosure auction, just trying to stay up to date with that as well. Additionally, I go to the city council meetings. I try to go at least one of them a month just to try to stay up on the development and what's being developed in the city or what's being presented or what's going to be changing. One of the big topics, of course, is the utility bills being raised, all that jazz. So I'm definitely keeping my eyes and ears on that. And then what else am I doing right now at the moment? That's about it, man. And I'm just training. I'm just training, trying to stay ready, and be a real subject matter expert for my clients. So that's just been what it is. So that's it. That's it. I'm gonna keep you guys updated, man. Let you guys know how it is, and yeah, let me know. Once again, my name is Michael Clark. I'm in El Paso. I am in El Paso, Texas. I'm a realtor. I'm an investor. Personally invested. I'm up to I had more doors, but I have 3 doors at the moment. So I just got to continue to add that. My plan next year is to try to double that next year. Slowly but surely. I have heard about this investment strategy where someone used it. It makes sense. If you want to just build slow, just double up on the property. So say for example, you buy a single family 1 year, boom. The next year you're going to buy a duplex. The next year you're going to try to buy a fourplex. In the following year you might try to buy an eightplex. So that's ultimately my goal, man. And I'm just trying to put myself in position and be ready for any opportunity that may present itself. All right. So again, this is Mike Clark, keys and knowledge. Not only do we talk about houses, talk about those keys, successfully getting that funding to go through to obtain the keys, but I also want to have that knowledge piece. I want you guys to understand it, how to take care of the home, how to make sure you have enough reserve to make sure you're managing the home. I tell you guys every time, if it can happen, if it can happen when you first purchase a home, it will. And what I mean by that furnace may break down within the first 6 months. That water heater may go out that first 6 months. So you make sure you have some money in reserves. And that's the knowledge piece I want you guys to understand. It's also a big issue going on right now with people not understanding exemptions. I want to have a real deep dive in exemptions, how to apply for exemptions. I'm going to be calling the Central Appraisal District and trying to get some frequently asked questions. And I want to hold a seminar for that, hopefully the end of this month or early into next year, because that's going to be the time for you guys to really, really be trying to apply and get your exemptions in place. So if you don't understand what a homestead exemption is, if you don't understand the benefits of having that exemption for your abuela, your grandma at 65 and older, you definitely want to understand that. You got to understand all these things, because I promise you, if you don't, nobody's going to care. They do not change it automatic. They hardly want to go back. You have to fight it. Not only that, if your appraised value goes up to then you believe your home is worth and you have not appealed this, that's a challenge. That's going to be a problem. So that's what I want to bring to this channel. That's what I want to bring to you guys. That's how I want to separate myself from other realtors in the city. All right. So again, my name is Mike Clark. I'm an El Paso realtor, man. Proud of it. All right. I'm with the war team. You guys see it. We stay strapped. And then you guys see it, man. Keys and knowledge. That's me all day. So stay tuned for more. Stay tuned for more. Until next time.